At the end of your life, there will be a moment of reckoning, not a dramatic one, not a judgment from outside, just a quiet, honest accounting between you and yourself. And in that moment, the question will not be how much you achieved. It will not be how much you accumulated, how many people knew your name, or how many boxes you checked on a list someone else wrote for you. The question will be simpler and more devastating than any of those. Did I live the life I was actually capable of living? The Stoics thought about this question constantly, not out of morbidity, out of precision, because they understood that the person who keeps death in mind lives differently than the person who does not, more deliberately, more honestly, more aligned with what actually matters. Marcus Aurelius returned to this question in his private journal again and again. Seneca wrote an entire essay on it. Epictetus built his entire teaching around the idea that the examined life, the deliberately chosen life, is the only one worth living. In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 Stoic rules for a life without regret. Not a perfect life, not an easy one, but one that, when you reach that final moment of reckoning, you can look back on with genuine peace. Write in the comments right now, I choose my life deliberately. Say it before this video ends. Rule 1. Live according to your values, not your fears. Most people do not choose their life. They default into it. They take the path of least resistance, the career that seemed safe, the relationship that was comfortable, the version of themselves that was most likely to be approved of. They make their choices based not on what they actually value, but on what they are afraid of losing or afraid of becoming. And years later, they look back at a life that is technically theirs, but does not feel like it. A life shaped more by avoidance than by intention. Epictetus taught that there are 2 ways to live, according to your values or according to your fears, and that these 2 paths diverge so completely over time that the person who reaches the end of each will barely recognize the life of the other. The Stoic rule is simple but demanding. Before any significant decision, ask yourself which of these 2 forces is driving it. Is this choice coming from what I actually value, or from what I am afraid of? Fear is a legitimate signal. It deserves to be heard, but it should never be the architect of your life. Rule 2. Do not postpone the life you want to live. Seneca wrote one of the most powerful sentences in the history of philosophy. He wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Read that again. Not that life is short, that we waste it, deliberately, habitually, in the comfortable belief that there will always be more time, that we will start tomorrow, that we will begin when the conditions are right, that the life we actually want to live is waiting for us just around the corner of the next achievement, the next relationship, the next version of ourselves. The Stoics practiced memento mori precisely to destroy this illusion, to make the reality of a finite life impossible to ignore. Because the person who truly understands that they are going to die does not postpone their life. They begin it, now, with whatever they have, from wherever they are. The version of you that is waiting for the right moment to start living the life you actually want is waiting for something that will never arrive. The right moment is always this one. Rule 3. Be honest even when it costs you something. Regret has many faces, but one of its most persistent and most painful forms is the regret of having been dishonest. Not the dramatic dishonesty of great lies. The quiet, daily dishonesty of saying what people want to hear instead of what is true. Of pretending to agree when you do not. Of performing a version of yourself that is easier to accept than the real one. Of staying silent when speaking would have required courage. The Stoics considered honesty not just as a virtue but as a foundation, because the person who is consistently dishonest, even in small ways, loses something essential over time. They lose the thread of their own truth. They become uncertain of what they actually think and feel because they have spent so long performing something else. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the person who speaks only what they genuinely believe, who acts only from genuine conviction, builds an inner coherence that is one of the most rare and most valuable things a human being can possess. Be honest, not brutally, not without compassion, but genuinely, even when it costs you something, because the cost of dishonesty, accumulated over a lifetime, is always higher. Rule 4. Choose your relationships with the same care you bring to your most important decisions. Of all the factors that determine the quality of a human life, the people you surround yourself with may be the most powerful and the most underestimated. Seneca wrote that we become the average of the people we spend the most time with, not in a superficial way, in a deep, structural way. Their values slowly become our values. Their standards slowly become our standards. Their ceiling slowly becomes our ceiling. The Stoics chose their inner circle with extraordinary deliberateness, not out of coldness, out of the recognition that your relationships are not just a part of your life. They are one of the primary forces shaping who you become. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they making you more of who you want to be? Are they honest with you in the ways that matter? The people who love you most are not always the ones who make you most comfortable. Sometimes they are the ones who make you better. Choose them carefully and choose them deliberately. Rule 5. Do the work that actually matters to you. There is a particular kind of regret that belongs to the person who spent their working life doing something that never mattered to them, not because the work was wrong, not because it was beneath them, but because it was someone else's definition of valuable work applied to their one irreplaceable life. The Stoics believed that every human being has a nature, a set of capacities, inclinations, and values that, when expressed in the world, produce both genuine contribution and genuine fulfillment, and that the person who lives against their nature, who does work that is fundamentally misaligned with who they are, is committing a kind of violence against themselves. The Stoics understood obligation and necessity, but they believed that the direction of a life matters, that even within constraint, there is always a choice about which way you are moving. Move toward work that matters to you, even slowly, even imperfectly, because a life spent doing work that never mattered to you is one of the most reliable sources of regret. Rule 6. Forgive yourself for who you were before you knew better. This is the rule most people forget to apply to themselves. We are often far more willing to extend forgiveness to others than to ourselves. We carry our past mistakes, our past failures, our past versions, with a weight that the Stoics would have recognized immediately as unnecessary suffering. Because you cannot change what you did before you knew what you know now, you could not have made different choices with the understanding you did not yet have. The person you were 5 years ago was doing the best they could with the tools, the knowledge, and the perspective they had at that time. Holding that person in contempt is not accountability. It is cruelty directed at someone who no longer exists. Marcus Aurelius wrote that every day is a new opportunity to be better than the day before, not to punish yourself for the day before, to simply do better today. Acknowledge what you did, understand it, learn from it, and then release it. Not because it did not matter, because continuing to carry it serves no one, least of all the person you are trying to become. Rule 7. At the end of each day, ask one question. This is the practice that ties all 6 rules together into something daily and actionable. Every evening, before you sleep, ask yourself one question. Did I live today in a way I would be willing to live forever? Not perfectly, not without struggle, but deliberately, honestly, in alignment with what you actually value. Marcus Aurelius asked himself a version of this question every single night, not as self-punishment, as calibration, as a way of closing the gap one day at a time between who he was and who he intended to be. The question is not designed to make you feel guilty. It is designed to make you honest, because the person who asks it every night, who sits with the answer without flinching, gradually becomes someone whose answer is more often yes, and the life built from those daily yeses, imperfect and incomplete as they always are, is the closest thing to a life without regret that a human being can achieve. That is the ViaStoica. the Stoic path, and it is built one day at a time, one honest question at a time, one deliberate choice at a time. If this video gave you something you needed today, subscribe to ViaStoica. Every week, ancient wisdom for the life you are actually trying to build. Write in the comments which of these 7 rules you are going to start living by tomorrow. I read every single one. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. 2,000 years ago, still true today. See you on the path.